Hello everyone and welcome to Donington, the 1938 layout of the circuit, for some classic racing here today with the SimRacingOnline F1 1967 Championship. Of course, these are classic cars and this is an even more classic circuit based on Grand Prix held far before Formula 1, back in the 1930s in fact. And you can see just how bumpy it is as the cars get over the crest at the end of the circuit. It's a fantastic looking circuit for fantastic looking cars. It should be extremely difficult here today, and it's going to be a cracking show. Here we are riding on board with Jukka Drug, our current championship leader in his Lotus 37, as he heads down towards Lotus 49, actually, sorry, as he heads through the archway there and out through the forest. You see that there are just fences and trees by the side of the circuit and banks there on the left as well. If you go off here, it's not going to be comfortable, and your car is certainly not going to come back on intact. So it's all about making sure you know the circuit perfectly, so you don't end up in the side of one of those buildings or pigsties like that. Under one of the bridges on the circuit, that's where the spectators crossed from one side to the other, and there's another one coming up here that we're about to go under as well. And now over the next section, we've got plenty of crests. There's a little one, you don't get air over that one, but this next one, watch this. Drug being a little bit cautious there, in fact backing out of the lap. Now you can get far more air over there, but Jukka, I'm afraid, has backed out of that lap and will not be going any faster just this time around. I'm going to have to turn my sound down a little bit, and apologies for that. It's just that I can't really hear myself think at the minute, so that was necessary, I'm afraid. Anyway, we're watching Fabrizio Ferranti here in the Eagle as he gets over that astonishing final crest. And this is actually Ferranti's first showing in the series, so this is going to be the first time that we see him tackling these F1 1967 cars, and we'll have to see what he is capable of here today. So far he's 4th in the order, so really not a bad opening time at all. And I'm not entirely sure what time we should be looking out for here, because this is, of course, the first official session that we've had. Whoa, as someone in a Lotus gets a little bit off the road up ahead. That would have been, not Matteo Santini, I'm going the wrong way. That would have been Jukka Drug, maybe on his next hot lap. So Drug, who is currently top of the order, getting it a little bit wrong. Whoa, as a Ferrari goes massively off in the background. And that was Matteo Santini going into the wall. And that car surely will be damaged. Yeah, certainly. So a bit of a mistake there for Matteo Santini. Here's John van der Geest going through the trees in his Eagle. In fact, now's probably a good time to show you all of the different cars we have here today as well, ranging from the Eagle to Lotus 49s. The next car through the shot's going to be a Ferrari. There's the Ferrari. We also have McLarens and the option of having a Matra, but I don't believe anyone has turned up in a Matra today. And then, of course, the Brabham and the Honda. The Brabham, of course, was the car that came out victorious in the real 1967 Formula 1 season, winning 4 of the 11 races. And then another 4 was won by the Lotus, so they were pretty evenly matched, but the Brabham ended up with slightly more points due to greater reliability. Up to 3rd place in the order has now gone Ferranti. That's an improvement for him. But what can John van der Geest do in the Eagle as he crests the hill? This doesn't look... Oh, it was a slight improvement for van der Geest. It was a slight improvement, but not by much. Slight improvement as well for Phil Brown, who now locks up and goes wide there. But not a major improvement anyway. Here's Pablo Finotti. Now what car's here? And I believe it's a Ferrari. Yep, it's a Ferrari. Very flat, you'll notice, but it has kind of a half crescent shape to the nose. I think probably the best looking car in the field is the Ferrari. Now, a lot of other people will argue with that and say it's absolutely the Lotus, like this one coming through here. I think the Lotus is by far the most iconic car of this era, but the Ferrari, in my opinion, you know, you can't get better than a Ferrari in Scarlet Red. I also like the way on the Ferrari that you can see all of the pipes coming out of the engine at the back. That's a distinctive feature of a 1960s Formula 1 car, as of course they were very, very exposed. They were basically just cigarette tubes, metal cigarette tubes, attached to, well, an engine. They just had an engine strapped to the back of them. And that's exactly what you're seeing there on the back of this Ferrari. The Ferrari, we've noticed in the previous events, is also one of the stiffest cars in terms of its suspension, which I think will affect it quite a bit here today, as this is a very, very bumpy circuit, and there are a lot of high crests and fast corners, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Ferrari struggles for grip or struggles for handling at various different points in the circuit. You're already seeing it lock up a little bit into the hairpins, and actually the hairpins should be where it's strongest, if I am right about it having a particularly stiff suspension. You see there how the Lotus in the background bounces around over the curb, and that in fact is Yusuf Massit going off into the wall. No, it isn't. That's Massit was in the pits there. Ignore me. Another new driver we have here today is Max Shepard, who is joining us in, what is that? That's a Cooper. So Max Shepard joining us in the in Joe Siffert's Cooper there, and hopefully we'll be seeing him going back out on track soon. He is currently 13th place, and of course Shepard is a driver we've seen driving several of our championships here in the past. Here you see an example of a Brabham. This is Flavio Bosga's Brabham, and you see it with the big number 1 on the side. That is because the Brabham also won the championship in 1966 as well as 67, which is the year being demonstrated here. Here's Jens Vroos in the Honda. You'll notice that the Honda had a really very short wheelbase. Whoa, as he spins and goes off to the outside there. That was a bit of a mistake there for Jens Vroos. But as well as having a short wheelbase, it had a lot of overhang on the front. And I'm a little bit worried that that's going to be scraping on the ground at various different points in the circuit. Look at that leap. You saw just how much air he got over there. That was incredible from Jens Vroos there, who has a massive... He's in the crowd. He is in the crowd, and that is a massive accident for Jens Vroos. It looks as if he was distracted because there was another car that was already off there, but Jens Vroos absolutely catapulting over the top of the safety fencing. Well, it wasn't really safety fencing back there as much as it was danger fencing. But yeah, huge crash. There's the Eagle with its eagle beak nose. And once again, it's pole position for Yucca Drug. So Yucca Drug is on pole position in the Lotus 49. He set that time very early in the session, actually, which is why I wasn't actually able to commentate much on what was actually going on in terms of the order there. Matteo Santini is second in the Ferrari. That's a good qualifying performance there for Santini. And now, as the cars go to the starting grid, whoa! Look at that. We're 4 wide on the starting grid here today. That's going to be very interesting. Let me see if I can find. Oh, weirdly, it's not letting me find the front of the order. In fact, it's not letting me cycle through the order at all. Oh no! Oh, that's really worrying because it means I'm not going to be able to show you up and down the order. Okay, well, it looks as if Yusuf Massit will be starting 3rd, followed by Fabrizio Ferrante. But I can't show you anyone else. Well, that's a huge shame. So it's Drug from Santini, Massit, and then Ferrante. But I'm cycling through the order, and it's just going back between Massit and Ferrante. And I can't go back to pits either. So, unfortunately, I can't read out the rest of the order. Luckily, I can tell you... So, 14th will be Dag Johnson, 15th Jens Vroos, then it's Flavio Bosga. Not quite sure who Brew is. That'll be Martin McClune. Carl Stieg, 19th. But that's, yeah, I believe so. So with less than a minute to go in the, or before the start of the race, I'm afraid I haven't been able to tell you the order between 5th and 13th positions, and that's down to the game rather than me, so I'm really sorry about that. But whatever the case, we are going racing in just 40 seconds now. We are going for a 45-minute race at the classic Donington circuit. I don't know how many laps it's going to be, but however many, it's going to be extremely challenging, extremely tough, and a real challenge for the drivers. I'm your commentator today, Caitlin Penny. I'm also doing your camera work, and if you want to leave any comments in the YouTube chat, I will read them out whenever I can. So the lights are about to go out now at the start of the race. Watch this, we have 6 lights, and when they go out, we will be underway. It's 4 wide on the grid. Go! And the race has begun, and there appears to be contact further back. I definitely noticed a little bit, but Yuka Drug is leading us into turn 1. The left-hander at the hairpin. Drug leads, followed by Matteo Santini, and someone is off. Is that John Van der Geest? I have a feeling... No, Van der Geest is still running in the order. It's a different Eagle that went off. Coopers, Hondas, and Lotuses go through, and the driver at the back, Dag Johnson, is off. Flavio Bosca is off, as was Fabrizio Ferrante. So we had 3 guys off at the back there. Yuka Drug leads the round, followed by Santini, Massett, Talviti, Brown, Lons, Defoe, Grucock, Shepherd, McClune, Ucel, and Van der Geest is off. Van der Geest is off and in the barrier, and actually he's caught on a mound, and can he escape from that? I'm not entirely sure. Pablo Finotti is off as well. So 2 guys off there trying to get it going again. Well done. Well done to John Van der Geest for getting back onto the road. And Pablo Finotti has done as well. So that's good. At least drivers have been able to get running again. Yusuf Massett just ahead of Matteo Santini. There seems to be a little bit of squabbling in the order there. And they are just ahead of Tony Talviti, the Finnish driver, who won... or did very well rather, won a couple of rounds in our GT1 championship. Didn't win the championship because he wasn't around for the whole thing. But Tony Talviti joining us in a McLaren for today, and chasing Santini down towards the Melbourne hairpin over the crest. And the cars do get a slight amount of air over there. That's the first of 2 major crests on this course. And someone is off. Someone is over the wall very, very badly. And is that... It's not Max Shepherd, it's the car ahead. It was Yusuf Massett. So Massett from 2nd place ran wide, but went over the bank on the outside and returned to the course somehow. But that was dramatic there. There's Santini. They have both been passed. So Brown has been passed by Talviti. Talviti up to 2nd. Then it's Brown and Santini heading out of the chicane. And that's drama between the red cars at the front of the order. Louis Defoe also up into 5th place ahead of Laurent Lons. What a dramatic start we've had to this race. I knew that it would be, and indeed it certainly hasn't disappointed. I'm sure it's disappointed several drivers, but in terms of excitement, that was unbelievable. Now back onto the back end of the circuit through the distinctive arch, which is still part of the Donington circuit. You notice that arch now next to the old hairpin, as someone runs wide in the background. That was Max Shepherd, I'm afraid, getting over the grass. And oh, Yusuf Massett, big slide. Does he save it? Yes, he does. Oh my word, Yusuf Massett not having the best of times so far in this race. He's been a little bit all over the place in the early stages, and needs to keep control of that car, needs to get himself back under control. Did I see someone going off there? I'm not entirely sure if I did. Whatever the case, Max Shepherd is now ahead of Yusuf Massett there. And then we have Grucock and Ucel back up to the head of the order. It's looking close for 2nd. Talviti coming under attack from Brown. That's close there. That's very close, heading down towards the hairpin. But Brown not able to outbrake his rival just yet. Now, does everyone get stopped this time around? Oh, Jens Roos kicking it a little bit sideways there in the Honda rather. And I don't believe that was Jens Roos. That would have been Can Ucel. Yes, it was. So Can Ucel, the Turkish driver, getting a little bit sideways. Also, we're very nearly 3 wide further back. There's McClune, Stieg and Ferrante. And then looking further down the order, do we have any retirements? No, I don't know if we do. I don't believe so. So we have 18 drivers in this race. Indeed we do. And it seems that we're all running. Look at Yuka Drug. Already he's opened up a 6-second lead. Drug, the championship leader, is currently unbeaten in this series. He's won 2 out of the 2 races we've seen, as Phil Brown gets over the grass and might be about to lose out a place, but he doesn't, because there's no room for an overtake. But he's gone off again on the outside. So, except that was Talviti. That was Talviti there, getting over the grass on the outside of the corner and backing up this whole chain of cars, and he's running over the grass again. That's a tricky section of course, and now we're side by side for second between Talviti and Brown's up the inside and through. So Brown up into second place. Also you see Lons and Shepherd going side by side as they head between the farm buildings. It'd be interesting to see if those farm buildings are still there in reality. Now Phil Brown under attack again from Tony Talviti up the hill. These two cannot... Actually, that's Santini passing Talviti. So Santini has passed Talviti for third position there as well. Look at Lons and Defour. So Lons and Defour also going... and there's contact! Defour has run into the back of Lons. They're both sideways and they've taken someone else off. It wasn't Shepherd, it was Tony Talviti. So Talviti got involved in that, and that all seemed to be started by Lons getting driven into by Lewis Defour, who went into the back of him. Defour seems to be parking by the side of the road. He's had enough. No, he is trying to restart, although is strangely still running off to the side of the grass. Come on, get the power down. Nice. No, there seems to be some rear suspension damage maybe to Lewis Defour's car. And he's about to be passed by Norman Bruce. And then ahead of him is Jens Roos, Fabrizio Ferranti, Canusel, Yusuf Massett, Max Shepherd. Talviti got away rather nicely in that despite being collected. He's in fourth. And is that Carl Stieg in 18? Now, was it Carl Stieg? Was it Carl Stieg who got involved and not? No, Laurent Lons in the pit, so it was Laurent Lons in fact. So I'm afraid Lons appears to have retired from this race, and he has DNF'd. He's left the server, so that might be the lot there for Laurent Lons. So again, a recycle of the order, and it's Brown from Santini, Talviti, Massett and Shepherd. Ignore Carl Stieg, he's a lap down and needs to be getting out of the way of these guys sooner rather than later. But my word, what a confusing race we are witnessing so far, as side by side, Santini and Brown, and Santini appears to have slight suspension damage too. Look at his steering. His steering is hanging to the right, and that can't be affecting him well, but whatever the fact, he's still taken second place away from Brown. That's actually really, really impressive there. Now watching on the exit of the corner, Brown still having a look. But Yucca Drug sets the first lap of the race. He's already built out a 10-second lead, despite the race only being 7 minutes old. How the heck do you do that? Oh my word, Yucca Drug has obviously been practicing. And as well, these guys behind him have been fighting and holding each other up. And that's been adversely affecting them in this race. There's Shepherd just ahead of Yusuf Massett. Massett trying to come back at him. Remember, Massett started ahead and then went off on the opening lap at the hairpin. I believe that's still the Melbourne hairpin, which is still a part of the Donington circuit. And there goes the old hairpin bridge and arch as I know it now. It wouldn't have been seen as that back in the day. So down the back straight they go, and Massett is still having a look at Shepherd, but he's a little way back just yet. This is over 5th position in the order at this point in time. And remember that only the top 6 drivers score points as well, so this is essential. Yeah. So it's the top 6 positions that I'll be focusing on mainly, because those are the positions essential to points in the championship. Talking of the championship, it's currently Yucca Drug leading it with 18 points to Laurent Lons' 10, and that is actually quite dramatic, seeing as Laurent Lons is out of this race already. So that's going to adversely affect the championship without a shadow of a doubt. Meanwhile, Phil Brown on the back of Santini for 2nd position. That's 2 Ferraris having a fight. So, Santini from Brown. Oh, and a big crash. Santini's been off. Brown is also into the trees. Can everyone avoid them? They've both gone off to the side of the road. And luckily it seems that everyone has managed to avoid them. That was a shame. It seemed that Santini just went off into the trees and Brown could not avoid him, and Santini has retired from the race. Oh, that's dramatic and unfortunate. Matteo Santini out of this race. And what about Phil Brown? Is he nursing damage? We'll have to see when he gets to a straighter piece of the track. Talviti is now second, from Shepherd in third and Massett in fourth place. And then it's Brown in fifth position, followed by Canusel, who now inherits the last points paying position in sixth place. And then it's Ferrante, Roos, Defour and Bosget. And that up ahead was also Shepherd going side by side with Massett. So Massett attacking for third position as they head towards the crest and the hairpin. Massett side by side with Shepherd. And it's going to be Massett on... Oh, contact! And off goes Shepherd. And off goes Massett on the inside. Shepherd's off on the outside. And through into second. Into third goes Brooks. Now, where is Shepherd? He's in the bank. Now, who's nursing damage from this one? Massett appears to have got away with it relatively lightly. Can Shepherd get going? He can. And he seems to have got away with less damage than I thought he would. But that's a big, big shame there. I'm good friends with Shepherd, and it's just a big shame to see two cars getting together, especially seeing as that was very unnecessary. It was in a straight line. They just weren't giving each other enough room, to be fair. And it's now Drug from Talviti, from Brown, then Usel, Massett, Ferrante, Shepherd. Steeg's a lap down. Then it's Defour, Roos. Roos having a little wiggle, but keeping it under control. John van der Geest. Nice camera there. And then Bosget, Grucock, McClune, Bruce, and, well, we're back to the lead lap again. I'm afraid we've lost Santini and Johnson. So, yeah, Dag Johnson and Matteo Santini both out of the race. Santini we saw being involved in that incident just now. And also Carl Steeg is in the pits and probably out. So 14 drivers of our original 18 remaining. We're just over 10 minutes into this race now. And I'd like to look down the order a little bit to see who's close to making a move. I believe that John van der Geest has just got past Flavio Bosget not too recently, so, or not too long ago rather. So it'll be interesting to see if van der Geest is on a recovery drive and how far he can get with that, and if he can get back into the points. In terms of the championship, I've already told you that it's the two Lotus 49s leading us, with Jukka Drug at the top, followed by Laurent Lons, and then we have Fabrizio Ferranti, who only joined us last time out and scored a podium, as did Phil Brown, except Brown has made both of the opening races, and he is fourth in the championship, followed by John van der Geest in fifth, very close to Pablo Finotti in sixth. Following them, Bill Grucock is in seventh position, followed by Yusuf Massett in eighth, and then we have two drivers with just 1 point, and those are Jens Roos and Louis Defour. Can anyone join those 10 point scorers here today? Well, I can tell you that currently Tony Talviti would join them. He would be a new addition to the point scorers, as would I believe that's it for now. Of course, Shepherd was with them earlier, but I'm afraid he was involved in a little incident, and Shepherd was going to be one of the people to join them. Now, seeing as there are no current battles going on the road, let's have a look at Jukka Drug, giving us a true masterclass, a true show of how this circuit is done. Let's ride on board with him, in fact, and just take it in as he laps the 1938 Donington Grand Prix circuit. Look at that air! Past the pit lane, back down to earth, and through turn 1 to the left. I believe that Norman Bruce has had a little bit of issue looking at the order. Through the trees goes Jukka Drug. I believe we're getting relatively close for fifth position rather. Indeed, Yusuf Massid and Fabrizio Ferrante. So Ferrante, who I think was in a Ferrari last time out, has now taken on the Eagle and is right behind Yusuf Massid, and is actually closing at quite a considerable rate of knots. He closed by about a second on the last lap there. So Ferrante on a charge as he chases down Yusuf Massid. And some of these drivers in the top 6 will be quite surprised that they are in the top 6, as a lot of them have been involved in incidents earlier on. In fact, now that I look at the top 6, Canucel has not scored any points yet, as this is his first outing in the championship. So if he was to score points today, that would be a new addition to the point scorers. Also, we've had a change for 13th. Oh, that's white! Oh my word! Oh my word! Huge damage for Flavio Bosga. How is he driving that? Oh my word! Now, he seems like he does have drive, and weirdly the car isn't just steering straight to the right, and that's probably because he's giving it enough speed that it's just skating straight forwards, but he will have no steering on that car. So Flavio Bosca, I'm afraid, is almost definitely a retirement, unless he can somehow coax it back to the pits. No, surely not. He's on the grass, he's in the bank. Yeah, there's no controlling that thing. That's the most damaged 1967 Formula 1 car I've ever seen in Assetto Corsa. He's going to go straight on. Well, that was downright obvious. Oh my word. Back up to the fight for 6th position. They've actually just passed that struggling Flavio. And Ferrante is still closing onto the back of Yusuf Massid. He gained by about 0.3 of a second on that last lap. Possibly struggling to keep up a little bit, as he's just behind that car in front of him. It's always difficult to follow the car in front of you, even when you don't have a car with particularly heavy aerodynamics. So I'm afraid we have now lost Flavio Bosga to the pit lane, and he either coaxed the car back there himself or he escaped there. But if I see him back in the race, I'm going to absolutely give a round of applause, because I have no idea how that car was still driving, and in fact driving in a sort of controlled direction. I know that in reality it certainly wouldn't be if its wheels were pointed that far to the right. My word, what a ridiculous sight that was. Goodness me. Yuka Drug sets another 141. That's astonishing. He's still putting in 141 after 141. Running away from the rest of this field. Now, what's the gap between Ferrante and Massid this time through? They're actually catching right up to the back of Canucel now, who probably just made a little mistake, because suddenly they're on the back of Usel. So I think there may have been a mistake there. And across the line, the three of them are right together. Usel, followed by Massid, 1.1 seconds behind, and Ferrante about 0.6 behind. So definitely a battle heating up now for 4th, 5th and 6th positions. And Flavio Bosga is back on the track. Let me see if I can... There he is. And his steering is dead straight. Oh my goodness. Well, it's not exactly realistic, but it's an astonishing story, I must say. And yeah, round of applause to Bosga. I have no idea how he managed to drive that back onto the track. My goodness me. Hello to everyone joining us on the YouTube chat today, or the YouTube stream today. If you'd like to leave a comment, I will be reading them out later on. Also, hello to everyone watching this race back afterwards, as this will be uploaded after the stream has finished. You're welcome at any time. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Whoa, Jens Roos absolutely flying past the camera. I was looking back here because I just saw that John Van der Geest had got past Jens Roos, but then I saw him Who's that spinning? Oh, it's Bill Grewcock. Phew. I mean, no disrespect to Bill Grewcock, of course. Like, you know, it's not good that he just had a spin, but my word, I thought that was Yucca Drug. Not that Drug can't afford to give away a few seconds, but anyway, yeah. Jens Roos, I don't know what happened to him. He seems to have got away with it rather lightly, but yeah, he came absolutely flying into the shot backwards. Seemed to be airborne as well. What a sight that was. Back up to the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th. Look at them now coming up and around the right-hander. Under the arch, they are right together now. It's Masset just behind Ucel. They're being chased by Ferrante. And this looks as if it's really kicking off. Now they need to make sure not to bang wheels as they're going over one of the many crests on this circuit. That appears to be one of the most common causes of accidents here so far today, as well as dipping wheels on the grass, like I assume happened to Jens Roos. And we've had a change for second. Oh, wow. Okay, we're side by side for second, in fact, and I didn't even know they were close. So we've had a mistake from Tony Talviti, who was a couple of seconds ahead of Brown and has now been passed. So Brown up to second, Talviti down to third. And can we see a move now for that 6th position battle? Here we go. Oh, Ucel locks up, goes a little bit wide. And Masset gets underneath him. Come on, change camera. There we go. So Masset has got underneath him and has indeed got past him now. There's Ferrante. There's Ucel. Through turn 1 and under the Dunlop Bridge. What can Ferrante do about Ucel? And what can Masset do as well now that he's been released? Remember, he was being chased by Ferrante, and he will be reveling at the chance of getting a car between the two of them. And he will now feel that this is his chance to get away into the distance. That's what he needs to do at this point in time. Oh, Ucel's lost it. Ucel in the grass. He's in the grass on the other side now as well. Through goes Ferrante. Luckily, no one hit anything. And that was a very close call. That could have been so much worse. And, well, that's given Masset some breathing room. But it has also allowed Ferrante to get clear of Ucel as well. And that was over the last couple of points paying positions in 4th, 5th and 6th. But yeah, Ucel just going wide and losing all sorts of momentum and grip on the grass. Now, how close is Talviti to Brooks? Or to Brown rather. He seems to be dropping back a little bit. I said Brooks because of the era. You know, only a couple of years earlier than this in Formula 1. Well, actually about a decade earlier. That was when Tony Brooks was racing and winning various races in a Ferrari, in fact. But of course, Brooks never raced in the 1960s. Oh, Ucel has been into the pits. Oh my word, no he hasn't, he's been upside down. Oh my word. I saw that something was going on with Ucel there, and he escapes back to the pits, only so he can right his car. He's got going again, and through into 6th position, and the last points paying place is Max Shepard. Now, is Ucel unaffected? He seems to have got away with no damage, which is surprising, seeing as he's just been flipped up in the air. We saw him doing that before the race as well, I think. Actually, no, that was Jens Roos in the other Honda. But yeah, Ucel there, dropping out of a points-paying position due to flipping over at turn 1. And he's lucky he didn't do that in a real 1960s Formula 1 car as well, because if he had done, there's no... Oh, who's that going off? Carl Stieg? Yep, Carl Stieg in the hay bales. Now, if you flip a real 1960s Formula 1 car, you can see here by the rear view of Carl Stieg's car that there's actually no roll hoop higher than the driver's head. meaning your head is going to be the first thing that comes into contact with the ground, and that's going to be very, very uncomfortable and also highly dangerous. So you, yeah, you don't want to find yourself in that position. Fabrizio Ferrante catching again up to the back of Yusuf Masset. He's already on his tail again. And they're together heading up through the final corner, the left-hander. Ferrante keeping a much tighter line there on the exit. I'm not sure whether he snapped slightly on the landing. But whatever the case, Ferrante still chasing down Yusuf Masset. Hello to Ida Yuteri as well, who says, yes, yes, Mac, past the Ucell. That has now been done due to a big mistake from Can Ucell. So, indeed, Mac Shepherd has got past him. But yeah, good to see you tuning into the YouTube chat here today, Ida, and we hope you're enjoying the race. As Fabrante's lost it. Now, I was looking away when that happened, so I didn't see exactly what happened, but I'm sure the stream caught it, so I'm going to look back on the stream to see what just happened to Fabrizio Ferrante. It seems that he just got on the grass. Ah, yeah, it seems that he just got on the grass on the exit of the hairpin, and round he went, so... Or of the arch, rather, and round he went, so... I'm afraid Ferrante there has dropped now behind Yusuf Masset. Well, he was already behind Masset, but now he's a long way back. And that wasn't Ferrante. Was it? Okay, now I'm confused. I thought that Ferrante'd spun, but he's still right with him. So... Oh, it wasn't Ferrante. It was... I'm not entirely sure. Someone else had spun. So sorry for the confusion there. But it wasn't Fabrizio Ferrante who had spun there. Wow, that really confused me. Trying to see if anyone's lost time. Flavio Bosga is off again. And has heavy damage. So, oh, don't put the power down that quickly, Flavio. He should be used to driving a damaged car by now, let's face it. Oh, and he's going off again. That's going to be it for Flavio Bosga, surely. That looked like giving up to me. Oh, that's a shame. Bosga obviously just didn't do enough practice before coming here today. And I'm afraid has wiped himself out one too many times. And is now back in the pit lane, understandably and predictably. However, the spin may not have been Ferrante, but he still managed to drop back a bit from the back of Masset as a result. And seems to be dropping back further all of a sudden. That's interesting. Let's see if we can find Grucock and Roos, because they seem to be getting relatively close over 10th position. And this is not a fight for points, but you know how things sometimes turn out in these races. They may end up being races for points. Under the Dunlop Bridge, Jens Roos in a Honda, Bill Grucock in a Lotus. And this is a relatively disappointing performance from Grucock so far, especially seeing as he was 7th at the first round and then 6th at the second round. If he'd continued that streak, he would have been 5th this time out, but no, he's had an incident at the start and he's down into 10th position. And it seems that Roos is dropping back a bit now. It may have been that Grucock just passed Roos and I didn't see it. What about 5th place? It seems that this fight between Ferrante and Masset is one that keeps closing up and then falling apart and then closing up again and then falling apart again, as Ferrante takes a little bit too much curb. And that sounded like a little bit of a dodgy gear change. Here's Yuka Drug still leading this race. His last lap time was yet another 1:41. He really is one of the most consistent and quick drivers I've ever seen in my life. Just astonishing. Oh, little bit of a little bit of a wiggle from from Lewis to 4 there in the Cooper. Here's Carl Stieg, still running in 14th position. He's currently the last of our runners, but good to see him still running anyway. It's with a race like this, a 45-minute race at Donington. Oh, he's lost it. I may have spoke too soon. Oh, I'm so sorry. That was the commentator's curse there. Although he has got away with it lightly and returns to the action. Oh, that was almost a disaster there. But yeah, as I was saying, with a 45-minute race at a classic circuit like this, actually finishing is a massive achievement. And I commend anyone who does so. Down towards the hairpin, you see flames spitting from the exhaust pipes. Just a fantastic car to watch. 1967 was a highly dangerous era for Formula One, but also a highly exciting one. It was all about the spectacle back then. The cars were the fastest they had ever been, which is why they were so dangerous, because the safety just hadn't progressed, but the speed had. Oh, big slide from DeFore. Is he going off on the outside? Oh, little tag of the grass, but he gets away with it nicely. I thought that was going to be a lot worse there for Lewis DeFore. It was a real driver's era, the 60s. To be quick in these cars, you had to be so brave. And so committed. And you had to be a little bit mad as well. Oh, DeFore going off on the outside. Apparently we've lost Carl Stieg as well, so we now only have 13 drivers remaining, and I'm going to take full responsibility for Stieg's DNF there, seeing as I cursed him. Really sorry, Carl. And we're closing up for 5th again. Ferrante sets his personal best lap of the race in the 141s. Astonishing. He's launching another push against Massett here. As we do have a change now. Jens Roos has just passed Bill Grucock and is now a long way ahead, so I believe Grucock may have had a spin or something along those lines. As for 5th place, it seems that Ferrante is really charging now, but it's dropping back again. Every time he gets close enough, he starts dropping back. That's really interesting. Oh, thanks, Ida. Ida Uteri in the YouTube chat saying, I'm enjoying the race and you're coming through too, Caitlin. Oh, thank you, Ida. Very nice of you to say, and I'm glad that you're enjoying the race. To be honest, who wouldn't be? These are ferocious cars and astonishing to see racing on a track like this. They just look like they were made for each other, which in a way they were. Of course, back in the 60s, they still raced at a lot of really long, really dangerous retro circuits like the Nordschleife and the classic Österreichring, and also the circuit in Charade in France as well, one of the most dangerous in history. So this classic Donington circuit wouldn't have been out of place on their calendar at the time. But yeah, they didn't race here in the 60s. In fact, Grand Prix weren't held at Donington after the 1930s, after the war. 1930s were the last pre-war Grand Prix held at Donington, and then we also had one Formula One Grand Prix held in 1993, which was the site of the famous Ayrton Senna first lap, where he made up 5 places in just 1 lap. However, of course, that was at a much more modern version of the Donington circuit, which is how the circuit remains today, in fact. Massett now gaining on Talviti. Talviti dropping back really quite suddenly. So has he got damage or something? Oh, it's Massett. Has a big kick there. I think he tagged the grass a little bit and just sauntered across the circuit to an extent there, but kept it under control, more or less. But yeah, Massa in general seems to be catching the back of Tony Talviti's car. Although dropping back slightly now due to that slide. Oh! Shepherd losing places. Is he off? I believe Shepherd has just had a quick off there, because he's just lost a place to Can You Sell. So You Sell in the Honda back up into the final points paying position, just ahead of Max Shepherd, and I don't know what happened there, I didn't see it, but they're now separated by quite a bit. And look at the gap now between Masset and Ferrante. And every time I say that, Ferrante seems to drop back from Masset, but he's really attacking him now. It seems to come in waves, really. Oh, and off! Off goes Masset on the outside. He's locked up, and off he goes. So Masset has finally lost the place to Ferrante, after Ferrante attacking for laps and laps on end. That's the ticket, just be relentless. Keep coming back every time you start dropping behind. And Ferrante has finally managed to capitalise on a mistake by use of Masset to get up into 4th position now. So still a couple of changes occurring at this stage in the race. Now what can Masset do? Can he stick with Ferrante, or will Ferrante get off into the distance? Ferrante has the quickest average lap so far, and the quickest fastest lap rather. But Masset will be trying to put that to the back of his mind, as he does have a look at him again. And he is coming back at him here, as we head down the back of the circuit towards the end. Over half a minute's gap now for the lead. Yuka Drug 31 seconds out in front. Absolutely running away with it. Unstoppable. Slipstream was in full effect until Ferrante went slightly wide there towards the Melbourne hairpin. I believe that the Melbourne hairpin is still in the same place as it was back then today, and is still being used. The track would go off to the left here if we were using the modern day circuit, but it hadn't been made yet just back then. Masset's still sticking with Ferrante, isn't he? He's not dropping back too badly, and he'd certainly be there to capitalise if Ferrante was to make a mistake now. So, past the crowd. And I tell you what, that's a very brave crowd standing there as well. You saw earlier Jens Vroos flying over the top of several spectators, and that was very common, or very likely to happen in real life. Because if you went off, there was really no saving it from going into the crowd, and there were fatalities back in that era. Of course, the most famous of which being at the 1961 Italian Grand Prix. The most famous flimsy fence-related incident anyway, when Wolfgang von Trips, who was on course to win the World Championship, unfortunately rode up a grass bank after making contact with Jim Clark's Lotus. And I'm afraid 11 people died in that one back in 1961. And this is 1967, and you can imagine the effect of one of these cars going into the crowd would be even worse than that. Meanwhile, Shepherd is coming under attack from Dufour. Now I'm wondering whether Shepherd's got some slight problems here, because he's been dropping back for a little while now. Although you have to remember that Dufour was involved in a couple of incidents earlier on in this race and is on a recovery drive. So it may also be that Dufour is just naturally very quick and could have done more with this race if it had all gone his way. Through the Melbourne hairpin. I believe it may have been known as the Dunlop hairpin back then. Oh, contact! It seemed that Shepherd took a line that Dufour wasn't expecting. He was very tight in, fast out, rather than the other way around. And Dufour was wide in, was slow in, fast out. And the incompatibility meant they clashed somewhere in between. But luckily, they both appear to have got away with it, and Shepherd is still in front. Meanwhile, they're also being caught by the hard-charging John van der Geest, recovering from an incident earlier on as well. And Van der Geest needs all the points he can get here. He's 5th in the championship at this point in time. And will be relishing... Oh, who's that? That was Shepherd running off. So Shepherd ran off on the outside. A couple too many mistakes here today for Max Shepherd in his first outing with the league. He was intending to start the race at Kyalami as well, but sadly there was a server error, meaning he couldn't get in for that one. And I'm afraid already it hasn't gone that well for Max Shepherd, and he's now under attack from John van der Geest over 8th position. Van der Geest in the Eagle. The Eagle famous for being very, very fast, but very unreliable. If it finished a race, it could often win it, but it very rarely finished a race, and therefore only won one Grand Prix. Designed and run by Dan Gurney, the American who sadly died just last year, I believe. A legend of both Formula 1 and American motorsports. As Can You Sell, meanwhile, sets his personal best. Although he's almost half a minute off the next car up the road, so really that's out of defence rather than offence. Not that he needs to defend either, as DeFore's over 13 seconds behind him. And it suddenly got very close for 4th position. Look at this. So we've got a chain of cars here. Talviti, Ferrante and Masset. 4th, 5th and 6th. Not that much in it. And while they're not side by side at this point in time, they might well start kicking off in just a couple of minutes' time. We'll have to see. Towards the hairpin, this is usually where things happen. Oh, big lockup from Talviti there on the inside. It looks as if he was going defensive, but he really didn't need to go defensive just yet. No one was quite close enough to him yet. And that's ended up costing him quite a bit of time there, so a mistake from Talviti. Probably just didn't know how much of a gap he had to the cars behind him. Thought he had less than he actually did. But whatever the case, he's still running in 4th position, just ahead of Ferrante and Masset, as we have just 3 minutes and 4 seconds remaining until the timer ticks to 0. And then the checkered flag will come out at the end of that lap. So not much longer to go in this race now. It's getting very, very tense. And this over the final podium position, 3rd, 4th and 5th, is the closest battle on circuit right now, as Ferrante gets slightly sideways. And I believe they're catching a back marker as well. That's a Lotus, so that will be Bill Grucock, I think. And look at Masset on the exit, attacking Ferrante. Ferrante was very slow through that corner there, lost about a second to Talviti. And Masset is slipstreaming him now as they go under the Mutter banner, heading towards the hairpin. Ferrante and the Eagle pulling away a bit. It's a real straight line monster, that Eagle. A typical American sports car, even though it's a Formula 1 car. As I think I just saw Grucock. Oh, not getting out of the way yet. He doesn't need to. They're not quite close enough yet. I thought I saw him pulling over, but luckily I didn't. So with just 1.5 minutes to go, the order is Drug, Brown, Talviti, Ferrante, Masset, Ussel, DeFore, Shepherd, Van der Geest, Grucock, Bruce is that in 12th place, yeah. And then McLoone. Not a great day for Honda. We've got 4 of them in the race, and 3 of them our last, second to last, and third to last, as look at that. Ferranti gets underneath Talviti, and Talviti has lost 2 places. Massett goes through as well, as Talviti locks up both wheels. And it looked as if that was all started again by Talviti going defensive when he didn't need to. Really interesting. I don't think Talviti has his mirrors on. Or if he does, then they're an exception to the rule that objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. Whoa! Yuka drug into the 140s! An astonishing fastest lap. Now watch Massett slipstreaming Ferrante. It's hard to slipstream an Eagle, but here he comes. And is that Bill Grucock ahead? Yes, it is, in 10th position. Down into the hairpin they go. Massett still chasing down Ferrante over 3rd position. And Talviti will kick himself when he watches this footage back. But now the checkered flag is out. And let's go through to Yuka Drug, who has about half a lap to go now before the end of this race. Past the farm buildings. And this is our last chance to see it on board from an absolute master, who's going to win this race by over 40 seconds. He's pulled out almost a second per minute in this race. That's an unbelievable margin, and I can't quite believe just how fast Yuka Drug is. This is world class from Yuka, and he's going to make it 3 out of 3 from his SimRacingOnline entries. 1 corner to go for Yuka Drug. Let's watch him crest the hill from this astonishing view. Whoa! My word. Yuka Drug has won this race. 45 minutes. He's won it by over 40 seconds. And that's one of the greatest performances I have ever seen in a motor race. Just astonishing. I want to keep half an eye on Ferrante and Massett as well, who are getting close, but Phil Brown is going to come second. And to be honest, let's not point out that Phil Brown has put in a great performance here today as well. And Brown is currently 4th in this championship, so he will undoubtedly move himself up a couple of places. Phil Brown just about to finish, and it looks as if Ferrante has kept ahead of Massett as well. And Talviti wasn't able to come back at them. So Phil Brown, 2nd place. And here comes the fighting trio. It's going to be Ferrante, 3rd place. And then it was Massett and Talviti. 6th place is Can You Sell, who's just about to lap another Honda. And that is Martin McLoone. McLean's been racing a BRM in the last couple of races, but there are no BRMs here today, so he's taken up a Honda. As Can You Sell has 1 corner to go to claim the final points paying position in 6th place, and that will be his first point in this championship as well. So a good drive from Can You Sell to pick up 1 point there. Great drive from Fabrizio Ferrante on his first outing in the series, and just missing out were another battling duo, and that was Max Shepard and John van der Geest, who just missed out. We only have 1 more driver to finish this race now. It's going to be the last driver on the lead lap, and that is Lewis Dufour. So that is the lot now. That's the race. It was Drug from Brown, Ferrante, Massett, Talviti, Ussel, Shepard, van der Geest, Dufour, Grucock, Roos, Bruce and McLoone, the 13 finishers. Non-finishers included Stieg, Bosga, Johnson, and then Santini and Lons. So the most notable of those, being, with respect to the others of course, being Laurent Lons, who came into this round in 2nd place of the championship and will not score. Now, does that mean that Phil Brown will jump Laurent Lons? Let me work that out for you quickly. There is 6 points between them, and 2nd place is 6 points. So they will be equal on points going into the next round. Actually, completely ignore what I said about this being Ferrante's first outing in the series. It was actually his 2nd outing. So Ferrante actually came into this in 3rd place in the championship and scored another 3rd place, which would give him 4 points, and thus move him equal to Lons and Brown. So going into the next round, Yucca Drug leads this championship with 18 points, followed by 3 drivers on the same number of points, Lons, Ferrante and Brown. Wow, that's interesting. The battle for second in the championship really heating up. Thank you all for joining us here today for round 3 of the F1 1967 Classic Championship with Sim Racing Online. I hope you enjoyed this live broadcast, and I hope you enjoy it as well if you're watching it back afterwards. Well done to all of the drivers who finished, and well done again to Yucca Drug for claiming his 3rd straight win. It's still a 100% record for Yucca Drug. See you next time, everyone. Goodbye.